We are ready to begin. Again, we're so pleased you're here and we've waited for your entire lives, but now we are going to explain that statement that we've used continually. We're going to explain it today, which is why we gave you the message today, this morning, that said the timing of your birth was perfect. Each of you. There is no way that you would be on the earth now unless you had wanted to experience this time in your world, which we have called your restructuring. Now, you don't know what was going on. You wouldn't have known this when you were even born, but as you live your lives, you start to have different experiences. However, this time it's different. None of you have experienced this period that you're moving through. That's why it can be so frightening. We know that many of you have had this fear and this uncertainty, but you wanted to have that because you've had that fear and uncertainty within your lives. That's why you're here. We're going to give you some information that we just only revealed to Roger, and he's putting together so he can deliver it to you. If you hadn't noticed, in our program that we gave you and all the work that we've given you, but in that program specifically, we wanted you to understand that you are an eternal spirit, meaning that you leave your physical body. We talked about that throughout that entire program to get you to understand you don't die. Because see, that's the biggest fear that you have. You think maybe others are there. You think that there are other fears that you're working with, but no, that's really the one that's there. But see, we use that. We use that because we are aware of that. Last night, we sent Roger to a video. Now, we say this because each of you think that you're accidentally doing things. You're not. Your guides are guiding you. Sometimes you're aware of that, and sometimes you accept it, and sometimes you ignore it. Roger's done that throughout his entire life. But last night, we led him to something we wanted him to see, which we've spoken of before, but he did not go back and view it because he's done that so much, as many of you have done. You see things and you say, no, I'm not going to go there. It might give me some information that might tell me what my worthiness is. We're saying that in a way that you can hear it because we need you to hear it now, because the world needs you to hear that now. So we sent him back to Stoicism. We gave him this wonderful video last night. We spoke the word, the last time we were here, but he still didn't go back and look, and we wanted him to see that because it's everything that we've given him. You see, because you each have these vast, brilliant lives that are mixed up with all sorts of things that you come into the world with for you to handle, for you to explore, for you to expand. But you've judged yourselves because you didn't understand your journey. That's all. And you've done it in a way that it caused your war in Ukraine. Yeah, we want you to think about that because you're responsible for that. You see, you each are. And when you don't believe that you have that ability, that will tell you what's been happening in your lives. When you don't think you have the ability, the power within you to cause change in your life, then you can't hope to experience the potential that you were born with, because you each were born with that potential. We keep calling it a gift because we want you to understand that is what it is. Every single soul that comes into on the planet has purpose and meaning. That's why you're born. Every single one, except sometimes you make different decisions and you discount yourself. And then you go through your lives continuing to do that. Now, but we still want you to understand this, because this is not a reprimand. This is to get you to see how perfect it was. You held yourself back. You doubted yourself so that you could be here now, so that you could shine. That's it. That's why the timing was perfect. Nothing is ever accidental. The timing of your universe is quite perfect as well, because we did it on this day, and Roger wasn't completely aware of this particular full moon and how powerful it might be, but we led him up to this because we wanted you to get rid of all your garbage. Leave your bags behind because you're going into a new world. That's why you're here. You have to at least look at your world and see all these things occurring and wonder, how did this happen? How did I decide to be alive now during all of this crazy chaos? That's why your birth, the timing was perfect. See, because now all you have to do is decide that you're going to own who you are, love yourself, and then you're going to add that to the world, and the energy shift, the energy of your world changes. You stop wars when you do that. Eventually. We're saying that because we've told you that you have to practice patience because you don't move very quickly, none of you. And so your world doesn't move quickly. But this time you're seeing what we told you. We've told you this, but see, we've used dates. We're going to go back to this. And this is why we wanted to use timing today, because you live in a universe, a physical universe, so you have to operate on linear time, and you want things placed in a time sequence that you can understand. And that's helpful at times, except when it's not. And that's now. Because we've told you, we said, first of all, we started giving you markers. There were Rogers markers, but there's so many of them that you will resonate for you because you're connected in some way. And when we talked about 2012, that didn't seem to make sense. How could that come about? How could he have received something in 2012 that would help you now? Because the universe knows all of this. God, Gaia, whatever you think of as this great being beyond or great expanse, whatever it is, that's what is wanting to evolve and expand. And that's why you're here. And you planned it to be here now so that you could finally break through your blockages, your limitations, your fear, your doubt, and start to own who you are. And that changes the trajectory of your world. And you create a new future for not only yourself, but all others. You are that powerful. The other night we had Roger, he was just working so hard to try to get you to understand what we had given you in his program, but he couldn't do that. He kept talking about the money. He kept talking about the value. He couldn't do it. He said, why? Because you see, he hadn't accepted it himself. That's why. He couldn't believe, just like you couldn't believe. He couldn't believe that he was given something that was this valuable. And so we let him go through his work that day. And then we said, now, when you lie down in your bed, we want you to do one thing. And that is to go back and look at what we gave you more than 2 years ago, at least, where we mentioned the United States. And then he did, and he started reading each message. And we told him to start publishing them, putting them out there in a written form, in a spoken form, because that's going to be more effective. But as he sat there and read these, he was in total shock. He said, how could I have not seen this? How could I have not known? None of you know. You don't know. When you come into the world, you have so much more that you can expand to. And every time you expand, you go through a transition. And we're talking about your life, your personal life. Okay, you go through a transition, and that transition requires you to take a step. And sometimes that step moves you into some unknown, the uncertainty, and you freak out. You get really afraid because what am I going to do now? And that's where you are. And that's where many of you have felt over the last few years, actually, you felt that. Roger didn't feel that, and he wondered why. The reason he didn't feel that is because he's been listening to us. Now, let's explain. He's not done this before. So we're telling you, we want you to understand, he has to be completely transparent. He knows this. He said, my role in this life is to be completely transparent about my fear and doubt, and then to find out that, oh, wow, I had it all the time. And he sat there the other night, and we wrote this. We had him put it in one of our messages. He sat there and said, my life has changed. Because he knew he could never see himself or you or the world in the same way. It just was not possible. He sees the perfection of everything that's going on. You see deaths, you see people dying. He doesn't see that. He sees people who have decided that they were going to make a contribution to change your world. They knew that their spirits were going to evolve. They just used their bodies as something to give to you, to cause you to awaken to who you are. They did this. That was their sacrifice, you see. And it was a sacrifice. It wasn't a sacrifice to them because they went on to a better way. We're speaking of this because you have these ideas about your bodies and your lives and death. You are here to evolve your soul. We had Roger hear this just this morning. We love throwing in these things that some of you will think are accidental, and they are not. We've told you when we put together, when he started receiving us, there were similarities to a lot of your archetypes who have come before. And we have said he didn't know where that came from, but we had led him to Carl Jung. And we've told you that was a large part of this, because as a civilization, you have humans who come in who discover things that help you evolve. And they give you tools and they develop all of these things. And Carl Jung was one of those, and we took them. And we use them in everything we have done because that is part of progression. But we put in a lot more spirituality because that's the that's the part of it that many of you have not understood is so essential in your lives. Your physical bodies don't last, you see? So you have to question, well, why am I here? You're here to offer your essence. That's all. And that essence, you never had to do anything. We've given you all of those. Those are the things that kept freaking Roger out as he read them. Oh, I never had to find anything. I never had to search. No, you never did. All you had to do is stop doubting yourself and stop judging yourselves. That's all. You as humans will make distinctions about, and you put labels on them. We've said this often. We don't like using labels of good, bad, right, or wrong, because you use that to classify yourselves or others, and you don't know that. As humans, you're always in a place of limited awareness. And so you might be, again, you're looking at your world and you're thinking everything is falling apart, and we're telling you, no, it's coming together, and you can't see that yet. But everything that we told you was going to happen is occurring now. We did that because we wanted you to have belief. The more of you have belief, you don't create more wars, you see? You are that powerful, your energy, your essence, whatever it is, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in your lives. The thing that you were brought to do, the thing that you agreed to do is before you, and once you do that, the world changes. And we're not going to stop until we get more of you to understand this. Let's explain this a little bit deeper, because Roger came to this awareness, and some of you have seen this. He can't stop. We connected him to a memory that he has no idea where it came from, but he just knew that he had to help. He knew that he had to be here to support others to move through this transition. He has no awareness of why that came. And we've spoken of this often. We've actually had him write it, because you each will have that, you see, except your ego will tell you something's wrong. We're going to repeat our idea of the ego because you each use it and you think of it in different ways. The ego is this false identity that you have made up that has convinced you that it's going to keep you safe if you stay where you are. What that means is that when you start to step outside of where you've been, your comfort zone, you start, oh, wow, I can't do that. That's a little scary. That's your ego. Or when you think you want to go for something, you don't have enough ability and all of that, and then you stop yourself, that's your ego. Because you always have the ability. You always have the ability. You would not be given anything in your life because you chose it. You think something was just pounced upon you that never occurred. You chose what you wanted to do, when you wanted to be here, and how it was going to help you on your evolutionary journey. That's what we want you to understand. We've spoken of this often. We said you are unique and the same. We're saying that because we want you to understand your differences in ages and all that have nothing to do with where you are right now. How young you are, how old you are, has nothing to do with this moment in time in your world, in your planet. You wanted to be here because you knew that if you were able, if you could muster the courage to believe in yourself and own who you are and why you're here, you could change the world. And that's the sentence that none of you want to say, but you thought about it when you were younger. But this is the time you're supposed to do it. And the way you're going to do it is when you decide to get out of your way and own who you are. We're going to talk about money again, because this is the biggest one. You each will use something to hold yourselves back. And Rogers has been money. He's done it his entire life, and we've talked about it. And you will each think about this in a different way, because you hear the idea about having issues with money, problems with money. No, that was never his. We said this, we had him talk about it before. He was successful at 26. but it didn't mean anything. And then he kept screwing up everything in his life. That's how it felt to him until he got to this place, you see. And that's what you're doing. But he went through the motions. We've spoken of this. We said in his earlier life, he had all of these troubles, all of these problems. And so he had to, what it felt like to him, work through them, figure out the solutions, get all of that. That's why he went into all of the work that he has ever done. But the problem was he couldn't accept the way he received it. He didn't read books. He didn't study all of these things. It just came to him in a different way. You each have something like that. But when you have to try to put it into something that has existed before, you diminish your uniqueness and why you were born, because you were born to be different. That's why we talked about individuation and differentiation, you see, because those things are needed. You are needed in your world. And what has happened is that there has been this collective unconscious that has been built from your ancestors, from everyone who has come before, who kept perpetuating the idea that there were certain people who weren't worthy. And you believed it. And you've carried it around. And that's why we said to you, you have systemic beliefs of inferiority. And when more of you have that, when you start to understand quantum physics and mechanics, you will see that this happens. This is how you're creating your world, your life and your world. Because when you put ideas, which are only energy, when you put them together, they are creative. They create something. And so when you put fear together, that's a lower vibration energy. And so then you're going to have a lot of humans running around being fearful of everything. And then it's got to explode somewhere. But that's not what really occurred. You had a distortion of human beliefs about what humans could do that weren't corrected over time. We said that's why you needed a shift, a change, a rebalancing. We called it a restructuring. And that's what it is. But the restructuring begins within you. There are many others out there who do the work that we do, who will speak as Roger does, but they're all going to be different and they're going to have different points of view. And you will pick from the ones that resonate for you because you feel when something is important for you in your life journey. Now, most things are, because you wouldn't be there, but you don't always want to hear it. You don't always want to pay attention to it. Because we had Roger just speak about the other day, how all the trainings that he's done his entire life, trying to find something, trying to find a way, a manner of improving and changing and correcting all of his what he called issues. You will see that we use that so much, and we always put it in quotes because they're not real. But you make them up. That's part of your ego again, because it can hold you in place if you think you have issues that you cannot overcome. None of you do. But again, you're here now purposefully so that you could awaken to who you are in this time in your world so that you can shift things. See, because we also told you, and this was the shocking part, but Roger, as he was reading, we said to you that you go through these periods in your world where you need change, and sometimes there's conflict. And we said sometimes you will need to create something like a Hitler. We told you that 2 years ago. But we were trying to attempt to get more of you to really come to believe in yourself. But the hardest time we had was with Roger. But it's fine now. He loves this so much because now he sees I have a whole canvas that I can work with now. Unknowingly, he started changing his life. He kept sending out these broadcasts to his list, and he says, I'm changing. I've got to go in this direction. I know I need to do this. And it was the most terrifying thing he's had to do, but he's done it many times. There are certain things we say to you that you will find out and discover later. When we say that you were born, you picked the time that you wanted to be born. It was all of it. You even picked your astrological makeup, so to speak. And when you examine that, it helps you navigate your life. But not all of you will use those tools. You have many different tools, and all of you use different things. However, Roger's used some of them, and the astrology was one of them. And so he looked at his life, and even he had a reading 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where the person said to him, you're a late bloomer. Can we tell you how much he hated hearing that? And he fought it his entire life. He said, no, that can't be. And we're saying, yeah, it was, because it was supposed to be now. This is when he was meant to bloom, as so are you. And you each will accept that or not, because he didn't accept it. That's why we keep talking about it. We've pointed out all the different periods and times and the moments in his life where he saw things, but he couldn't accept that then. You each have done that. And this is the time where you came to be, because it's going to make a difference in your world. And you've already done that. We talked about the things that were going on in our last conversation, and one of a presentation that we made, where we said, if you would halt right now and just send some energy to Ukraine, it could change things. And many said, well, that doesn't make sense. And it did for a bit, because you're seeing that no one can figure out what's happening. No one can, because it's different. This isn't how it used to happen before. This is where you are in your life. You're using the world to examine where you are. That's all. See, because it's vivid. It's been put out there for you. You're seeing one person who's trying to hold on to what was old and what was known, and being quite frightened if it goes away. And then a whole nother group of people who say, no, we want something different. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to go to this other way of being. That's what's supposed to happen now. And there you have the struggle. And you are here to decide within your own life which way you're going to go. We told you a long time ago, you're going to make a choice. Here we are. This is the choice that you will make. And the choice will make to love yourselves. We said that often enough too. You don't understand that your power is in your thought, in your energy, in the quality of your thought. You see, the quality of your thought, and this is, when you get into studying the science of all of this, you can figure it out. And it took humans a long time to get to this place, but you're supposed to take advantage of it. That's why you're here now. But when you understand that the quality of the thoughts that you hold emanate, project a particular type of energy that is creative. And then when you put more of you together doing the same thing, wow, how powerful is that? And we said that that conflict creates chaos. I mean, chaos will create unity. We said you're going to go through that, but we said create chaos will create unity, and you're seeing remnants or parts of that anyway when you saw what was happening, and then the rest of the world. But the other part of this is you could have done it before. Yeah, that's a little bit of a reprimand, because we want you to feel that. We want you to feel it, but you could have done it before. But no matter, you can do it now. You can do it now. And what we're saying is just to get out of the way, just to accept who you are. We continually say, and you will see in our program, we've done this purposefully to get you to figure out your answers to who you are, because no one knows that better than you. When we had Roger talk about his trainings, this is what he did. He had counseling, he did courses, he went to workshops, he did all of those things. And then he kept saying, well, wait a minute, why am I not there? Why can't I get there? Why can't I find it? And then when he did find it, he couldn't see it. You each have done that. So it's a process. It's a process. So what he did, he kept going through things and he figuring it out and putting things together. But then he said, oh, maybe I have figured this out. Maybe I have come up with something that I can add to the makeup of this world and make a difference. Maybe that's why I was born. Maybe that's why I'm here now. And those are all the questions that we want you each to answer, because they is a reason, because that's why you are here now. That's why we said the timing of your birth was perfect if you decide to accept it. And it's a process, because if you've been denying your worth for years and years and years and years and years, you have taken physically taken the facilities, the tools that you've been given, and held yourself back. You just kept saying, no, I'm unworthy. I've got these problems. I've got these difficulties. I have this mental illness. I have this, all these things I have. Hmm. And we're saying those were perfect. And why didn't you know that? They were perfect. Because again, you're making distinctions about your things that you have, whatever they are, based on human understanding, and your awareness is not that evolved yet. It's getting there. You continually evolve. You continually accept more. However, this period in time in your world is when you were meant to access every aspect of who you are. We could give you so many things that we have gone through, but we're going to do that in a way that's going to be more helpful. The reason we had Roger begin to read some of the passages that we had given you from starting to 2020, your year 2020, we wanted you to see the connection to now, because see, you have been connected in the universe that way forever. But when you start making the connections, it causes you to feel more confident. It causes you to break the barrier that your ego has had on you, has held on you your entire lives. And this is nothing wrong. This is what you were supposed to do. When we've said you come into the world and you have limitations and restrictions that you want to move through. Because if you don't move through them, then your world doesn't evolve. It wouldn't be here. Your planet would go away. Now we're saying the planet because your civilizations, as we've said before, they have left. You have lost millions of people over time. It happens all the time. But we have been saying the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. And again, we were saying that all the time because we wanted you to know that if you were to move, if you were to decide today, I am going to start a new path in my life, because that's what this energy is about, and start to continually put that into your consciousness, that's what will happen. That's what will manifest. You have available energy for you now that's different than ever before. It'll be a few weeks before you start to feel it and recognize it, but it's there. It's already moved. The shift has already happened. This is why we have not, or why Roger, we should say that we're never concerned, but Roger will say, has not been so fearful of this period as many have, because he understood. We got him to understand. It was a chore though. He's gone through so many horrible sleepless nights and fighting with us about this. And we've talked about that as well. Because you each do that. You think, no, wait a minute, I hear something. I know that this is who I'm supposed to be, but I can't do that yet. Yeah, you can, because now is the time you're meant to do it. We keep saying this, and one of the things that we must do, because Roger has imbalance as well. And we sat him down in his bed the other night and we said, listen, you've done all of this forever. You've made many people wealthy because of the work that you've done, and you've made yourself poor. You can't do that anymore. You have to, and we told him, this is the reason that his shoulder was out. He thinks he has to carry everyone. No, that's his imbalance. He's working through that. He's making those changes so that he can change that imbalance. See, because each of you, we told you that there's a wealth and income that redistribution that's going on. That's why you're seeing things being held in different parts of the world, because they said, wait a minute, we have this wealth that we use to cause value in individuals needs to be redistributed. That's what you're doing. That's why you're here, you see. But you've left out certain parts of your world. And we've said this before as well. We're not causing fear here. We're wanting you to pay attention. But when you ignore certain parts of your humanity, it shows up to bite you in the butt. And so you thought that you had gotten rid of your Omicron, but if you don't continue to work with loving yourself and everyone else, no, you're going to have more until that ends. We told you that was the purpose of it. And it's coming up again in different ways. But if you are willing to understand how powerful you are, you can change anything in your moment of now, anything, because it's only energy. All you have to do is decide to be mindful. We've given you tools to help you with that. But that's it. But that's why you're here. The way that you're seeing your world now is what you wanted to experience. We want you to hear this. You wanted to experience this because it's going to cause you to get rid of your fear, not get rid of it. You're going to always have that bit, but you're going to move through it. It's not going to stop you as much because you'll understand. This is why in the program we gave you, everything we said, we've referred to your physical body. We wanted you to understand that you are here working on your soul. Your soul family is what's causing you to operate in any manner that you are right now. It's really astonishing that most humans have difficulty looking at the reality of how you chose to live a physical life experience. You're not here forever. So you have to question why you're here at all. That's what you want. We want you to answer that question, you see, because that's your soul. And when we told you that your moral compass will lead the way now, that's what we meant, because each of you come to do something different. But you know what that is when you pay attention to what's within, and it feels right to you. It feels good to you. You never intended to feel miserable. The misery that you have suffered were just places you wanted to break through. They weren't something terrible that you were cast. You weren't being punished, as we've said. None of that ever happened. It was just, there were things that you accepted, that you knew that if you could move through this, because you've had this long evolutionary journey, existed forever. So if you move through this, you've not only caused yourself to become so much more, you've done the same thing for your world. How often can you go to your religions and your churches and your synagogues and your all of those places and pray about being all one and the eternal spirit, that you hear it all the time, the eternal life? You say those words and then you come back and live your life here and you don't believe them. We are saying that you came into the world to move through your fear, doubt, limitations, restrictions, because you knew they would help you evolve. And if you did that, your world would be much different. We say much because you still have to correct what you didn't do before. You can do it instantly again. The more of you decide to change things, you will see that reflected in your world. There's no separation. These are the things that, again, we'll put these together. We only had Roger do 3 of the messages. They were kind of early on, but as you move into them, you start to see the correlations that we gave you, because we wanted you to see the progression. And we gave you in 2012 the understanding of progression. So you stop beating yourselves up. You know, because you live in a physical body, so you deal with time in that way. However, it is your awareness that is progressing. Your awareness is progressing. It has nothing to do with your body or whatever, none of that stuff. It is your awareness, because as your awareness progresses, as we said, it kind of expands this way. That's all you're here to do. Then your world becomes better. That's all. As you allow yourself to see beyond, but you do it in increments. That's why we gave you that message. You said you do it a bit at a time, and then you need to become comfortable with that. And this is exactly the process that we took Roger through. He would go through all of this re-examination, and sometimes really painful and just really exhausting. And then he'd come out of it and go, okay, now I feel different. I'm a new person. I'm a different person. Everybody got sick of him saying that, but you're doing that all the time. And if you would acknowledge it, you would move, your evolution would be exponential then, because then you'll say, oh, wait a minute, I have this much more power. And we're grateful for the person who sent Roger a message, thanking him for the post that we had him do years ago. It wasn't even now. But we said, please lift the car off your baby. Please lift the car off your baby. And we said that because we gave you a message many years ago with that concept, because when you're under incredible pressure and stress and fear, sometimes it causes you to tap into something, this extraordinary superpower strength that you never knew you never knew existed. That's what happens. And that's why you've seen those people being able to pick up the cars off their children. That's what you're meant to do now. And we love having you think that you're responsible. We had Roger talk about it, because when you don't believe that you're responsible for what's going on in the world, you can't understand the power that exists within you. You can't accept it. But we want to also say you are not alone. Many of you collectively have done that, and that's why the collective unconscious, that term, that's why that was created, to show you that there's certain things that you come into the world and they're existing energies that you must move through that were created by all the others before, but you're still here now to move through that. And this, again, we said this is big, and we get excited because we want it. We know it looks crazy because you look at the world, but if you come into yourself, you're going to see things differently. You're seeing examples of that all over the world, but you might not be looking at them in the correct way. There are certain people who decide, wait a minute, there's something that's so much more important than my physical body. Where did they get that? How did they get that information? Because you each fight against understanding who you are to a degree. We'll tell you another interesting story, and we led Roger back to this again because he can see this connection to Carl Jung and what we've put in our work, because you will each pick up particular things. But Carl talked about archetypes, and one of them was an alchemist, and Roger just thought that years ago. His friend, he wanted to have a song, and his friend sat down to write this song, and he knew he was going to write this song for Roger. And it was going to be based on what he could see. He called this song The Alchemist. And Roger said, no, we can't use that. Yeah, this is what he did. He said, no, we can't use that because people won't understand. Let's change it to The Optimist. That's a word that people can accept or understand. No, that's who he was. And that's why that title, it wasn't accidental, it was perfect. He's done that so much. And then again, you each have these abilities that you could ascertain if you looked at more of the sciences and tools that your world has developed to give you that. He looked at astrology. He can say, oh, wait a minute, this double Scorpio thing, that's like the phoenix, that means you rise again. Yeah, he's done that many times, more than he can remember, more than he's conscious of. And that's the other thing we want to speak on. We had him hear so many other things from other folks. He's not been listening to many other in any other thing. We wanted him to be completely with us, so we had him not listening to much else. But this other day, we had him go to listen to some stuff where they talked about all these ancient archetypes and all that, and he's listening, and he goes, "Okay, this seems real. This makes sense, but I don't understand it." And we said, "You're not supposed to." You each have particular areas of interest that you're led to and that you're meant to do, and that's it. You're not meant to do everything. You're not meant to understand everything or study every particular thing, because there are vast portions of your world that you have no idea exist, but you're not living there right now. You're living in this world. You did something very specific to be here now to help this big shift. So, but some of you feel a little like, oh, why don't I understand that? You're not supposed to. You're supposed to understand what your particular path is. That's it. Just what you're supposed to do. And we gave you that in the program as well. And we had someone the other day who was moving through that particular issue that was meeting with Roger. And we said, why do you think you still need to do all the other things you did before? You're a different person. You've changed. And that's what you struggle with. You rarely come into the world, and with some do, but you rarely come into the world where you kind of instantly know everything that you're meant to do or who you're going to become. That's a rare thing, but there are some. This is why we brought up many months ago, child prodigies. We wanted you to entertain that idea because you've never kind of figured that out in your human understanding. How did that happen? How did this kid come in being a virtuoso pianist? How did that happen? Because they tapped into the information that it's always available to each of you. That's all. And they chose, because you each pick roles, to demonstrate something to the rest. We gave another little example. We're sorry. We're apologizing because we're giving Roger so much and he's trying to keep up. Anyhow, we gave him the other day an idea to talk about in a group that he was in on Facebook. We said, okay, now I did these things. I did this program and I told people that they could come through with this program and they would come out feeling less fearful, more confident, and having an idea of their life purpose. And I'm guaranteeing it. That's what he said. And the other coaches said, that's not possible. And he said, why? And they said, well, because you need this to happen and that to happen. Well, he's completely aware of that, that's the time that it takes. But he gave them a specific goal that they were going to achieve in the 4 weeks. And he says, well, I've seen it happen. I've seen some people have done it. So but you're telling me, no, that can't happen. And then there were all these other huge coaches that were in this group that they said all these other coaches said the same thing. Roger's not saying that. See, because you're supposed to break through limitations and you have them collectively. And then we brought up the story of Roger Bannister, which none of you have put together. We've used it before. However, Roger Bannister was the person who decided that he could break the 4-minute mile. No, they thought no human can run slower than 4 minutes. That's impossible. He did it because he didn't buy the belief, you see, and he accessed something else. You're each here to do that. And then since he's done that, now people are doing it all the time. And you see it. If you were to pay attention to certain things, which we have Roger pay attention to all the time, which is a little annoying for some of his friends, but this is what he's accepted in this life. But you can look at your sports, for instance, and you can make comparisons. You can see, wait a minute, people were shorter back then, and now they're big. How did that happen? How did evolution occur? How did you become smarter? How did you have more technology? Who developed it? How did they understand that? Where did it come from? These are the questions that you each have not accepted about yourselves because you're here to do all of those things if you were to stop your self-judgment. That's all. Everything that we have given you was to show you that every person, every soul is so valuable in the transformation of your world because you come in and you offer different energies. Energy is what creates everything. However, if you're offering the energy of fear and withhold and not being enough, you give way to dictators. We've told you that because you do it collectively. It didn't happen accidentally. We're going to go back because Roger has he has a bit of more, he has guilt, and we want you each to release that because you will come upon things that you haven't ignored and they will become so blatant to you that you will have the tendency to judge yourself and beat yourself up. And we've said over and over again, that's counterproductive. You're supposed to look at those things, and we've taken you through it, look at those things and gain the value from it so that you can use it in your life now. That's what you're meant to do. But he went back and he started to reminisce, let's say, about what he knew when he knew it and didn't talk about it because there was a part of him that couldn't own the fact that maybe he had something to offer. We hope you heard that because you each do. And he knows that he has to be this time, this life, he is being this teacher, which we've said forever, and the experience that the way that he is teaching, and he has to because it's really endemic to him, is through example. He's got to talk about the examples because he wants you to understand, because some of you think that things are just magically handed to certain people and not to you, and that's never true. He put in the work to find this, that's all. He decided that there was something to go to. That wasn't really true because he had to. Let's be honest, his life was such a mess. He had to find something. He wouldn't have been here. We've said that. He wouldn't have even been alive. But now it doesn't matter because he sees, oh, this is bliss. It's bliss when you know why you're here and when you're not afraid of why you're here. That's because that's what most of you do. And we said this before, because typically the thing that you fear the most is your gift. thing that you fear the most is your gift. And why is that? Because you keep dangling it out there. You keep going, keeps you something to keep going for. That happens. But again, you come into the world at a very specific time to perform a service, and that service is about helping your world to evolve. And that's why you're each here now at this particular time. It's not about your parents or any of your grandparents that are, which most of them might not even be in the physical form at this point, but you are here for them as well. Each of you have, let's talk about that. We have so much in there, and all of it was in the messages that we gave you during the 2020, but we'll keep delineating to a degree so you understand them. But we said that you each come into the world with ancestral connections, and they're all over. They're very varied, and all over the world. Let's just say that. And so none of you are the same makeup physically. So energetically, you're not the same makeup, and so you're meant to put your makeup into everything else so that your world evolves. That's the idea behind individuation, you see, because nothing can change without contrast. But as you move through your life, you moved into new sections, new parts of your awareness, of your consciousness. And that's the part that you have to be willing to move into and accept. Roger wasn't willing to move into that and accept it. Let's just say it. Let's just put it out there so you all can hear it. No, he wasn't willing to do it. But now he is, and now he knows how valuable it is, and he knows that he can no longer do what he did before because the world needs him and you to do something different now. And you can't think that don't have that ability. That's not possible. When we've told you over and over again, the ability is merely in your thoughts. That's where your power is. You are not a body. This is why we were so irreverent about your whole pandemic thing. Because we knew how Roger was using it. He had to use it to come to understand his ability to heal. You each will use everything in the physical world to develop something in your soul. That's all. And it's very different because it's your evolutionary journey. But we will say that because you are here, because you're listening to us, what you wanted to do, what your contribution this time, because we've said you might have made many different ones, but your contribution this time is to love yourself. That's all you got to do. How simple is that? No, not so. That's why it takes time. That's why we said it takes time to do it. We even told Roger, don't tell people that they can continue our work and get it all done right away. He doesn't do that. I mean, he's very upfront that it takes time. I mean, he would say at least a year for you being in something where you can change all the programming that you've done to yourself in this lifetime and probably many others. We want you to hear that the reason we keep speaking of other lifetimes, because if you were to accept the possibility that you existed before and you carried into this life many energies and difficulties and challenges from those who came before, you wouldn't be so hard on yourself for the things that you've chosen to work through now. The two things that you chose as your particular barriers to break through. You chose them for a reason, because you knew that when you got through them, you were going to make a contribution. And our only desire ever is to get each of you to make that contribution. And it's to yourself first. We want you to be selfish now. You have to be. Because see, you can, it doesn't even take this much intellectual understanding to see that there's been over time this separation of peoples based on money. It's no accident, but you keep pretending that you don't see it. And then what that does is it distorts your perceptions of yourselves and all other humans. And that distortion gets so out of balance that you end up with a world that looks the way it does today. But again, that's why the timing of your birth was perfect, you see. Now, the message that we had, Roger didn't know what we were going to do when he planned that, and when we told him to go back and find that particular message. We did that because you still believe, many of you, that things are happening accidentally, and they are not. They're just awaiting your understanding, that's all. Everything in the world is happening for you. Nothing has ever happened against you, never. And you're coming to understand that, and you wanted to experience your autonomy. That's what we meant. You wanted to experience, that's why you're here. And we keep talking because we know that you hear a little bit. We sent something else to Roger the other, inadvertently. He sees things and he can make connections so quickly now. And he ignored this before and didn't want to do it. But he saw a posting on Facebook from someone, one who was a client and in the program, and they said, well, you can't get people to understand you can't get people to hear. You can talk to them all the time. You can't get people to hear, but you can plant the seed. And that's sometimes all we're doing. And we want Roger to understand that, because he pushes sometimes. And that's, again, the imbalance that he must work through, which he's getting much better at. Because he's seeing where he gets uncomfortable because he knows how he held himself back for so long. He can see that, but it's but he at the same time knows it was purposeful to be here now. But still, there's this anxiousness that he has because he can feel the world more. He can feel the urgency of this moment, and that's why he keeps pushing you, because he can see the bigger picture. Many of you can. You felt it, or maybe not have been willing to own that or acknowledge it or believe that it was real, because that's really the only thing that any of you are doing. We took Roger back to a memory. We want you to understand this, because you can have this, and we want you to think about it now, because it's going to be the most useful idea that you could have now, the most useful tool that you could use now. We gave him a visual. We had him see the Seth material many years ago, and Seth talked about in your life, it's like you have a canvas. You have a canvas that is your life, and you are the artist. And you decide what colors you're going to place on your canvas and where you're going to place them. And then you start to create this beautiful masterpiece. And that's your life. And that's what you're doing now. And when you understand that those brushstrokes that you're using are your thoughts, you'll get the meaning of that entire passage. And you'll use it, because you will use it now. You're going to see things in the next several weeks, for a while, that are going to disturb you, and some even later today, but understand that you are seeing them. We want you to remember this is the most important thing. We want you to remember you are seeing them because they're causing you to awaken something within you that you've kept dormant, hidden, or not believed. That's all. That's the reason you're seeing it. And when you have that memory, it'll come to you. The thing that you've been holding back on, it's going to come up. Because when you start doing that, you're going to start loving yourself. And you thought that all along that we were saying these ridiculous things about loving yourself, but that was incorrect. It's the most powerful thing that you could do. It's the best contribution that you could make to your world at this time, is to do that. You'll see it. But it becomes challenging when you're seeing things in a physical form and your interpretations have been disjointed, let's say. Because you think people are dying for no reason, and they were aware that their higher selves were aware of what they were doing, and it's gone on. This is why, again, we take you back to history. When you look at your history, it's gone on over and over again, and you're here to make a different tilt in the trajectory of your world. And we just really want you to understand how important you are, why you decided to be alive now. Who would choose to move through a pandemic that may keep going? Who would choose to do that? And then to live through a war that most of you have never experienced in this form and this large. But look at how it brought the world together. We told you, conflict creates unity. but your unity is expanding. It's going out to far more. And because you've left aside many, many other peoples and countries, and you will remember that you're all one. What you do throughout your civilizations, you keep working on the same theme. That theme is coming back to oneness, as many of you and many other studies have talked about. That's all that it is. But you never, this is why we said to you, you never win. And that was something that was disturbing for a lot of you. You say, well, you never win. Well, no, we're fighting against those people. No, you're not. You're just fighting against yourself. You're always fighting against yourself. That's all. Because you are those people. And so until you decide that you're going to let go of your judgment, your world keeps creating more wars. That's all. But again, it begins with you. You are the one who holds the power. You hold all the power. And your difficulty in accepting that has been the difficulty and the challenges that you've experienced in your life. But you can begin to change that. And we're going to continue to help, especially now that we've taken Roger to a place where he can say, yes, this is what you can do. You have to form belief within yourself first before you can choose to have it affected in the world or anyone else to believe it. And we took him back to seeing that message which we gave him so many years ago. Now, you each will, again, use something and you'll find your thing. We're going to give you Roger's. We talked about the money. We told him, and we're going to, he can remember our words like they were just tattooed onto him. We said, money in and of itself has no intrinsic value, none. But you each will use it in a way that suits you, that serves your life. And everybody will use it in a different way. Some people think that if they get a lot of it, then that's going to make them whole. That's going to make them feel better. And then they get done with that and they say, well, wait a minute, that didn't do it. Roger did something different. He would cause himself to be completely broke many times because he would give away everything to everyone else. And that would cause him to change. And we told him that's what it was. And he couldn't figure out, well, what's that other thing? And the other thing was what we said, his gift, what you all have done. He wouldn't talk about us. We can show you how it progressed over time, and in linear time in his life, we can show you how it progressed because we led him back to an idea that he just read the other night. That's why he freaked out, because he thought it was something different. You all do that. But he wrote it and he never saw it. It came from us though. That's why he doesn't see it a lot. But he thought that he had lost something when he was a child, 5 years old, when his great grandmother died. And he was so attached to her. He just wanted to be with her all the time. And he said, well, that was the reason things went crazy, because she died and I could never find that. And we told him that wasn't it. Because see, we had him set up to talk to his aunt and ask about that situation. And his aunt said, I don't remember that. I don't think that ever occurred. And it didn't. Because what it was him losing his disconnection to us. It wasn't his great grandmother. Because he had feared it. He had feared this communication. Because it seemed strange and different. And we told him he started having nightmares and he didn't want to sleep. That went on. You each have had something in your life that traumatized you, or whatever you might want to call it, to a degree, but that's okay because you wanted to have that so you could work through it, so you can overcome it. This is why we gave you all of these titles, these wonderful titles. Overcome everything. Overcoming everything is what you can do, and that's why you're here now. But again, the timing of your birth was perfect. And we know that you're going to come to understand this, and very soon. And we're thrilled that you're doing what you are doing, because just listening to us, you have made a shift in your world. Just agreeing to take in the energy. We're telling you again, it's only about energy. That's all it is. And the more of us that can get you to understand that, the world that you want to see will be created. And that's where we are. We would love to see if there are any of you who have questions or need more further clarification or any observations or anything you might want to ask.
Okay. You guys know what time it is. I'm going to bring you into the room, invite you in as a panelist, and I invite you to ask your question or a comment. I'm inviting you to the room now.
There are certain things that you will begin to understand because in 2020, we kept using the term the United States. We kept saying the United States would lead the way. And that made no sense to many of you. And Roger was very uncomfortable saying it because at that time in his country, it was in chaos. And there were a lot of things happening then that no one could see how it might turn out. But it's turning out now. And you each can help that if you understand what we have given you and start to use your energy in a new way, because you're seeing where there is a way forward. And we gave you that in our program as well. We said there is always a way. There's always a way, unless you accept that there isn't.
Okay, any questions? Any comments? All right, before someone speaks up. Okay, Clarity, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I had a really rough day yesterday, and it was a lesson in taking good care of myself, in spite of the fact that I didn't want to be still. And I woke up just about the time that the moon came to fullness last night, and I realized I had an insight that it was my great-great-grandmother that is watching me right now, because she made a very courageous step away from her tribe into the white culture. And myself, I've stepped away from the culture of males into the realm of the feminine. That was my insight today.
Thank you so much for that. And again, your timing was quite perfect, because you felt the emotions of that, because the energies of all of those who came before are showing up now, because you are each here to move beyond that. And so that's what we said. If you understand that, you would not be as freaked out when you have those days where your body isn't working, you're tired, you're depressed, you're all of those things. You could be moving through, because there's a lot of energy moving in your universe right now, in your world, in this planet anyway, that you can feel. But you're moving through so much less right now that you would have those. And that's purposeful, because we wanted you to drop it, you see, and we wanted you to take care of yourself. But we're so happy that you got that awareness, each of you. It is the best thing you could do right now is be selfish. That's the best thing you could do, is be selfish. We know you've been talked out of that, because you've been talked out of, you've been taught disempowerment. But this is a great time for you to change all of that. That's why your timing of your birth was so perfect.
Thank you.
There is a comment in the chat from Catherine, and she says, I believe I have used money as well to hold myself back.
Yes.
I have struggled all my life with money issues. Every time I have some extra money, it doesn't last for long. It seems as if I have this unconscious habit of bringing myself back to not having enough money and struggling.
Yes. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much. you have number one, you've done two things. Number one, you've moved through a huge one of your money blocks. It'll take you time to get there, but you've moved through a huge one of your money blocks, and you have given that to the world, because everyone heard it. And some of you, we said, not, you won't all do the same thing, but to become aware of the things that you have done. It's always to get you to move to the next place. And that next place, and Catherine, you'll get this because it's coming, is just accepting absolutely every aspect of who you are. Whatever judgment you placed on, no, it's that's leaving. And so once you start letting go of that and speaking about it and talking about it and moving through, people are going to hear that and they're going to be so appreciative, and you will have opened up your energetic flow of money that it's going to come to you in great abundance. Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, anything else? One more thing in the chat.
Okay.
Hillary says, this instruction to be selfish, quote unquote, is becoming a theme for me, and it's a very antithetical to my being.
Yes.
So I feel anxiety, but I know it's important.
Yes. Yes. And okay. Many of you have carried energies from, again, that you don't completely understand because they've been with you for a while, they're ingrained, you accepted, before you came in. However, some of you who are here to do such great work and offer so much to others never felt entitled to do that because you were taught something else. You didn't see others when you were younger doing some of the things that you felt called to do. Your selfless acts. You didn't see everybody else doing that. And so you might have begun to think, well, maybe this is wrong that I'm in this way. And so then you start withholding things. You don't feel deserving in some way. There's so many different things that are really tied up into this, and we will give you one. And we've given you many before, but we will use one story from Roger's life. He remembers his mother saying, don't be so selfish. Now and as a kid, you will interpret things in a certain way that might impact your life, and you're not aware of it. And so he took that, and this was about something that was quite young, and it was about toys or something like that. But he took being selfish, like having something that was his, he took that to mean that he was a bad person if he was going to have things. That's what he did. And so now the idea, this is why he struggled so much with asking for money. He always wants to give to others. But when he struggled for asking for people to pay for his services, he said, well, I don't know, because he's not as connected to the physical world, but now he needs to be, because that's what we said, he needs to do that more. That's the balance he needs to shift. However, we're saying that you might have embodied certain ideas and beliefs that had you think that if you had less, others would have more. And that's never true. Others will have more when you demonstrate your wealth, demonstrate that you can bring it up. And this is the change in the world that we're saying is happening now. There are others who have held the wealth from you to convince you that you were inadequate. But now that's the shift that the universe is moving through, and you're here to help that. And you'll see, you each will see that it will come about. But the selfish, please understand that you must take care of yourself first if you are to do the work that you came to do, and that is about expanding and helping others to do the same thing. Again, because your money means nothing. We've said that. It means your money and your possessions and your things, they mean nothing. You use them to develop your soul, and developing your soul only means that you're willing to have what makes you happy, comfortable, and loving yourself.
Hillary says, thank you.
You each will move through varying emotions over the next several weeks, and they're all going to be so worth it. So just go with it. If we could give you one word or piece of advice, go with the flow. You've heard that before, but this time we really want you to pay attention to that, because it's going to be up and down. You're going to be releasing your old ego limitations that have been holding you back. You're going to be going through that. Then you'll go into something that feels really euphoric. Then you're going to find the next thing that's going to come and hold you back. Don't worry. It's the part of the process, and it's going to go on for a little bit, but you're moving into this wonderful world, and that's what you're creating now. And as we said, please be patient with yourself and be patient with your world. We love you so much. We're so grateful for the work that you're doing and that you're here, and you will see magnificence showing up all around you. We are complete. Okay, that was fun. How is the world today? I don't even know. Is anything happening? I have no idea what's going on. I'll find out later. Great. All right, you guys, this was truly terrific. I'm so happy you're all here, and we'll get to the replay and let you know when the next thing is happening as well. So great. Thank you so much. See you soon. Okay, bye.